Come on, do something. Bitcoin stuttering as the excitement around Trump's inauguration fades. Are we now at the mercy of the Fed? What a week. Trump gets cracking and crypto sees bullish developments left, right and center. And yet the market is a bloodbath. Ethereum's civil war. Vitalik comes out swinging as divisions within the Ethereum community widen. And a look at last week's top performers, tweets of the week, what to watch out for over the next 7 days, and much more besides. This is the Coin Bureau News, live. Welcome everyone, happy Monday to you all. We are back above 100k.
Above 100, yeah. Just at the start of the stream.
Yeah. Perfect timing. Well done, everyone. Well done, Nick. Good to see you.
You too, man. Yeah. It's been a crazy day.
It has been a crazy day. I would like to share with you some of the sentiment in the chat at the moment.
Let's go.
I'll just read you a few select comments. Hi guys, if anyone needs me, I'll be rocking over in the corner. Honey, it's all gone. Rugged again. It was a fun bull run, guys. Are we doomed? Bear market confirmed, bros.
You guys are so fleeting. So fleeting. I mean, it's like last week we were, 2 weeks ago we were like, oh, 100k. Oh, that's such an amazing milestone. Like a month ago, and like last week it was all crazy. We're going crazy. Trump's coming in. He goes with all these executive actions and all this, and now.
Andrew says things not looking so good, kids. I'll be flipping burgers by next week. Guys, just chill out. Okay,
man.
It's a bit red.
Don't make us bring the bathrobes back and the candles, okay?
Is that what you need? Because we'll do it.
Sure.
Yes, it is looking a bit red out there, although things have started ticking up in the last hour, doubtless in advance of this stream, in anticipation. Of course, Michael Saylor has been buying as well, but we'll get to all that. So we're going to cover Bitcoin as usual. We're going to be talking about all the crazy stuff that happened last week. Last week was amazing, guys. Just want to hammer that home. And we're going to be looking at what's going on with Ethereum. And of course, we're going to, as we go along, we're basically going to try and answer the question of why has the market, and it's not just crypto, I should point out, why have markets taken such a dip in the last 24 hours? What's going on and what might be next? But before we get to all that, let's have a look at what Bitcoin has been doing.
The Bitcoin price. Let's start off, guys. Yeah. So last week, just before the stream started, obviously we broke through that hallowed all-time high again, $109,358 to be exact. On the day of the inauguration, it was written in the stars, and we were all very bullish, obviously. It was a great stream we had about that as well. And then as the inauguration speech went on, Bitcoin started to retrace. Everyone was wondering, when is he going to mention crypto? As if, that crypto holders generally think that they're the most important people in the world. Like Trump doesn't have a million other things to deliver on. He didn't mention crypto at all in his inauguration speech. So Bitcoin did dip below 100K very briefly on the Monday evening. And Saylor didn't buy during the stream last week, although he did buy 2 days later, right? He bought again. So $1.1 billion, a big buy. That's more so than he did in the previous weeks. So he's stacking a lot last week, and that was the average price.
He likes to keep us guessing.
Exactly.
I think he was sitting there thinking, they'll see it coming if I do it on Monday. I'm going to do it a couple of days later.
He knows that basically we cottoned on to the fact that he watches Coin Bureau live streams, and this obviously means that he times his buys for when they start. Having said that, he also front ran us today.
Yeah.
Because he bought just an hour before the stream. We can go sneaky seller over there. He bought another 1.1. So it's just crazy, huh?
Yeah.
He's stacking over 2.2 billion in the span of 2 weeks.
And it's interesting because his buys were, until a couple of weeks ago, they were tapering off, weren't they? I think the last one he made before the election, before the inauguration, I should say, was very small by his standards. Was it 1,000?
Yeah, like 1,000. Then it was in 2,000, and then stacked up now.
But it had been diminishing over those weeks, and now he's back max chatting in the 10K
max chatting, and there'd also been FUD around whether he still buy going into the earnings, and he seems he doesn't care. So the buying continues. that wasn't the only bullish news last week, guys. We also got news that Nasdaq had filed for a in-kind redemption for the IBIT BlackRock fund. Now, this is important because currently all ETFs operate a cash model, and what that basically means is that it's cash in, cash out. When they have to redeem the shares, they have to sell the Bitcoin for the cash, and then the cash goes to the authorized participants and market makers. Now, with an in-kind, it's Bitcoin in, Bitcoin out, which would mean that there won't be forced selling for the Bitcoin, for the cash.
Yeah, so that should reduce the amount of sales in general.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was the reason that we didn't have it in the first place is all because of the SEC. Ridiculous. But anyways, we also had $1.9 billion last week in total digital asset inflows, according to CoinShares. So that's looking quite bullish there as well. Looking at some on-chain stats I want to share with you guys quickly. So we had a reduction in the realized profit being taken over there on the first chart. And we've also had a reduction in the realized profit versus loss margin, which means therefore there's less people in profit right now, or less general profit, which means that they're less likely to sell. That being said, there is a lack of new demand coming into the space. And this is from the apparent demand metric from Crypto Quant. Basically measures demand coming in based on taking out, of course, the count of Bitcoin miner returns, and then the demand that's there right now for unmoved coins. And the rate of demand is slowing. So you can see it's still positive. We still got a positive rate of demand. It's still green, but it is slowing. So although the on-chain stats show us that profit taking is lessening, so there's less selling pressure, there's also potentially less buying pressure because the rate of demand is slowing.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
There was some other macro news last week. Interesting to note that the dollar broke its long uptrend, as you can see here.
Oh yeah. So well, I mean, this should be in theory good for risk assets.
Dixie, yeah, the Dixie broke through that long, strong uptrend, which is generally good for risk assets, right? So they're selling out the dollar, which was the theory, of course. And we also had the BOJ did eventually hike the rates. Yeah?
Yes.
On the Friday.
Yeah, we talked about that at the end of last week's stream, didn't we? And we were wondering whether that was carry trade. Unwind part two.
Unwind part two. Everything was going to go haywire.
Yeah.
No, actually, it didn't. So that was looking good. And generally, over the last week, the price was kind of like trending in this symmetrical triangle, and it tapered out to being a very narrow range towards the end. We were wondering, okay, well, what's going to happen now? That generally, when you see that, you generally think there is something that's going to happen. There's going to be a break to the up or the downside. What's going to happen? And yes, of course, we started this morning breaking through that symmetrical triangle, going all the way down to a daily low, I believe, of 97,000 something. So
that's quite a nosebleed, isn't it?
Quite a nosebleed. And we were starting to panic a bit here at the bureau. Had to change around the stats and everything as well, get the prices.
Yeah.
Which is why we do these live now. Why the reason for this is obviously not necessarily something related to crypto, right?
Yeah, so this is really interesting. Now, DeepSeek, this Chinese-built LLM AI chatbot, came out a week ago, I think. It came out on Monday, obviously the day that Trump was being inaugurated. So eyes and attention were very much focused elsewhere. And suddenly everyone has realized that not only does this apparently outdo things like ChatGPT and other LLM models, but is also like ridiculously cheaper. I think what was it, 6 million they built it for?
$6 million. Now, bear in mind, guys, that some of the executives at these Western AI firms and companies, their annual take-home pay is probably more than 3 to 4 times $6 million.
I mean, I'm kind of beginning to think probably OpenAI spent $6 million on donuts. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
They're raising like billions and billions and billions, right? So it is crazy. Apparently, and what's crazy about this as well is that it shows that the chip sanctions that were put on China have not hindered this development of AI.
Yeah.
And also because it's optimizations in the software component of it, and they've used these slightly older chips, and that's why big stocks like Nvidia are massively down in the pre-market. The Nasdaq is down in the pre-market. So basically, there's a massive fall there. You can see Nasdaq's down on the futures pre-market, and Nvidia is falling because they say, well, if these were done with slightly older chips, less optimized, and they just optimized for the software component, that means that all this hype around needing these advanced, computing chips that Nvidia has been creating for AI, is that really necessary?
Yeah, maybe it's kind of reframing the question, isn't it? Because it's like, well, maybe you don't need to throw billions of dollars and the latest hardware at it. Maybe you just need to kind of think through the problem a little bit more. It seems like they've actually, it seems like the constraints that were put on them have forced them to find other solutions.
Yeah, innovation 100%.
Force them to innovate.
Yeah, exactly. Now, why has this caused Bitcoin to fall? Well, obviously, at exactly the same time as this, there was reporting that the correlation with Bitcoin with the Nasdaq index is at the highest level for quite some time, I think, and therefore, obviously, high correlation means it's going to fall with the equity index itself, right? So it's Nasdaq pre-market is falling, Bitcoin was started selling off already. So that's what's happened, and that's why we're where we're at. But of course, what's important is what's coming this week. That's the most important factor. Now, of course, one thing I can say, guys, for certainty is expect a lot of volatility. That's the only thing I can say for certain, because not only do we have two very important dates, which we'll talk about in a bit, but one is obviously the Fed meeting, FOMC, Wednesday. Keep an eye on that. There's the PCE inflation print, which is coming out on Friday. But also on the 31st of January, we've got a very big options expiry on Deribit, Bitcoin options expiry, about $7.8 billion in total is expiring. And what's interesting to note about this, of course, as well, is that you can see what's this max pain point, which basically the theory behind this is that option dealers will usually try and hold the spot price down around the max pain point to inflict the most pain on the buyers. And hence, they're trying to keep the price down, the spot price down prior to the expiry, such that once expiry comes and they've settled the options, the price will rally according to spot demand dynamics. That's the theory, at least. But either way, there's generally a lot of volatility around these option expiry dates. So keep an eye on that date. And in terms of if you want to know where the prices could be going, what's going on the daily, if you want some advanced technical analysis, then there's a channel I can recommend you to, of course. And that's the Coin Bureau Trading channel.
There they are, those three handsome chaps.
Yeah.
Do check out Coin Bureau Trading. Dan, Aaron, and Mariano have first-rate analysis there. All the analysis you could want. Nick is attempting to point to it at the moment. It's in the top right.
It's top right. I'm not going to even try.
In the top right.
I always get this wrong. It's so disorientating.
Yeah. Okay, so as Nick says, probably a lot of volatility to look forward to over this week. We're going to come back and talk a bit more about this whole DeepSeek thing a little later on at the end of the next section, because I think there's a few things to bear in mind here. I should also say as well, this being crypto, of course, one of the reasons that we've seen such a dip in prices is, of course, our old friend liquidations.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of people had gone long for good reason, really, given what we're about to talk about. And of course, whenever that happens and prices dip, those long liquidations get wiped out. They're forced to sell. It crashes further, and so on and so on. So that is a big part of why the market has crashed so much in the last 24 hours, but obviously this DeepSeek thing is a part of that as well, and we will get to it. But before we start talking about all the crazy bullish stuff that happened last week, can I please remind you all to subscribe, to like.
Yep. Amen.
And to ring the bell as well. Don't forget to ring the bell.
And if we get to 1,500 likes this stream, we will give you a preview of the kind of videos that we've got coming this week. The coins reviewing the videos that are coming, as well as a little bit of an overview of what's going to be covered. So look out for you there. Okay.
There you are. Hit that like button, why don't you? All right. So let's have a look at last week. Now, I've heard people say that the last week was one of the most consequential, if not the most consequential, in crypto's history. And to paraphrase other people who have said this, basically the crypto industry got kind of everything on its wish list.
Yeah,
it got everything we wanted.
Nearly everything. Yeah.
And yet still
99.9%. It's like, you get the sundae, you get the ice cream, you get the banana, you get everything, but you just don't get the cherry on the top, and you start complaining, guys. Seriously.
Yeah, we really need to take a long, hard look at ourselves. So yes, so much crazy stuff happened. We're going to run through a few of the big things that happened last week. So there were a couple of low-hanging fruit, like we discussed in last week's stream. One was the freeing of Ross Ulbricht, which didn't actually happen on the first day of Trump's presidency, but it did happen. I think it happened within the first 24 hours.
Within about 2 days, so 48 hours. Yeah, look at that smile, man. Look at that smile.
I mean, wow. I really got goosebumps looking at that photo, because I mean, this is a guy who's been like stuck in a federal supermax prison. I mean, these places are like hell on earth.
Yeah, he was stuck with like hardcore drug dealers and kingpins, right?
Yeah,
because he was charged under the Kingpin Act, you know. So it's crazy. Poor guy.
An amazing thing to see. And well, good luck to him. I look forward to all his many inevitable podcast appearances that will be no doubt coming our way
Joe Rogan
soon.
coming, sure, hopefully.
Yeah, well, I look forward to his keynote at Bitcoin Las Vegas.
There we go.
That's probably going to happen, right? Okay, another low-hanging fruit was the overturning of SAB 121.
Yeah, this is really big. I mean, and the implications of this, obviously, this basically was Staff Accounting Bulletin 121, which is, of course, the controversial SEC rule that forbid, if you wanted to hold crypto on your balance sheet as a bank, for clients as a custody, you would have to put that on your balance sheet, right? So you weren't viewed; it wasn't viewed as a custody asset. And many banks hated this. Obviously, they actually got through the overturning last year through Congress, and Biden vetoed it. That's if you believe Biden himself vetoed it and not someone else signing. I don't think he even knew what he was signing there. But it's really big because obviously this means that now TradFi institutions can utilize custodians to hold these Bitcoin assets. They don't have to utilize a ETF anymore. And if they want to go and create structured products around Bitcoin, they can hold the Bitcoin with these custodians. Big banks and big custodians like BNY Mellon are already super keen and lined up. So it's big news.
Yeah,
I don't think it's getting enough airtime in terms of like how important it is.
Well, and it's interesting you say that they're lined up because they wanted this.
Mm-hmm.
The banks have wanted this. As you said, it was voted through Congress along bipartisan lines, and it only fell at the last hurdle when Biden was told to sign it.
Yeah.
So as you say, this is going to be huge. This is going to open up something. The banks, like I say, have long been wanted to be involved with crypto. They know they can make money from it.
Yeah, 100%. And of course, he gave his first executive order related to cryptocurrency. It finally came, called the Strengthening American Leadership in Digital Financial Technology.
I was trying to figure out if that was initially an acronym. They sometimes make it a word, but they seem to have fumbled the ball.
It should have just been the MCGA Act, the Make Crypto Great Again Act.
Now that
there we go, guys.
That if you ever need a job,
I can work for Trump. Yeah, why not, man? I can turn better policies.
Yeah. So this was I think this executive order that everyone in the crypto industry was waiting for. I think this was where perhaps the cherry on the sundae failed to quite materialize, wasn't it?
Exactly, and it was just down to wording.
Yeah.
Wording. Instead of a strategic Bitcoin reserve, we get in a national digital asset stockpile.
Yeah. Now, I think that's fairly sort of open-ended because it doesn't give any indication of how they're going to accumulate it. Obviously, it doesn't mention the assets in question.
Melania, Trump. Yeah. It's still a digital asset. It could be an NFTs. It could be Trump's NFT collections.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of anyone's guess. So I think that's deliberately open-ended. And of course, a lot of Bitcoiners especially were none too happy about that. And that kind of set the cat among the pigeons a little bit. But we'll come back to that. There was also the executive order also prohibited the creation of a US CBDC.
Yeah.
Which is undeniably good news. No one wants that. It also revoked an executive order that Biden had signed, 14067. This was the framework for international engagement on digital assets. That was issued back in July 2022. And
it was bearish for the industry. Like it all centered around like hacks, exploits, and financial consumer protection. It wasn't around innovation for crypto.
Yeah, so I think it very much kind of took the idea that crypto is just a nest of crime as its kind of starting point and went from there. And crucially, this executive order that Trump signed as well protected banking services, and that is an allusion to the winding up or the halting of Operation Choke Point 2.0.
Yeah, thank God. Yeah. Of course, coming back to the national digital asset stockpile, why there was quite a bit of a fracas in the crypto community in fighting. Bitcoin maxis were not impressed because it wasn't the Bitcoin strategic reserve. So they were really struggling with the language.
Yeah,
they were blaming it on Ripple.
Yes, Ripple came under fire here a lot. I think I think there was a lot of speculation that Brad Garlinghouse, who was obviously pictured having dinner with Trump not that long ago, was sort of leaning on him to well, either include XRP in this stockpile. I mean, I've heard people claiming that he was lobbying for XRP to be included at the expense of Bitcoin.
I don't know if it was at the expense of Bitcoin, but I mean, he would be lobbying to have XRP included. I mean, just makes sense, right? If it's Ripple's his company, I mean,
that's kind of his job.
That's his job. Like, it's to increase shareholder wealth and his wealth. He's a big holder of XRP. I mean, that's just he's talking his own book. But obviously, it dilutes the message around a Bitcoin strategic reserve, right?
Yeah.
And now they're opening up the question: are we going to have an American-only crypto strategic reserve, which is going to only include American cryptocurrencies that are based and founded in America? Then it comes back to the question: is Bitcoin technically American? There's theories that Bitcoin was founded by a British chap, or
I mean, let's face it, it's probably most likely. Yes. Wow, that'll get them going. Okay. There was also, of course, the overturning. Now, this wasn't something that Trump himself did, but a U.S. court overturned the sanctions on Tornado Cash.
Yeah, that's great. Although it didn't, I think that the founders are still facing jail time, facing the criminal convictions and things like that, which is unfortunate. But I think this made sense, right? Because how can you sanction a smart contract piece of code? It's like a free speech, right? So it just makes sense, right? And people could now still go and utilize the smart contract itself to go and, privacy enhance their ETH. But I personally wouldn't do that because that can be tracked. The moment you interact with that smart contract, those ETH is going to be tainted.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think in terms of Tornado Cash, as Nick mentioned, certainly it's developers. It's not quite all in the clear yet, but I think this is a really positive start. And I think this is perhaps most positive from the point of view of like overall development in crypto, because when OFAC, when the Treasury Department sanctioned Tornado Cash, crypto developers everywhere were like, okay, so if I build a piece of code, if I write a piece of code, develop a protocol or whatever, and someone then goes and uses it in a manner that displeases the US government, I could end up like one of these Tornado Cash guys facing potentially decades
100%.
in prison.
Yeah, exactly. You're held responsible for some nefarious use case of your code or whatnot, right? So it's like, gee, no, wouldn't want to build into that.
Yeah. And just some interesting wording here. The appeals court clarified that immutable smart contracts are beyond human control, cannot be owned, that's interesting, and do not qualify as agreements or services, challenging OFAC's expanded definition of property. So yeah, this is I think this is big news. This should lift a big cloud from over the crypto development space in general, not just in the United States, but obviously, I mean, because this applies all over the world, because the reach of OFAC, the reach of the US government is very, very long.
Very far, with many, many agencies.
Yeah.
It's not just OFAC. So yeah.
So so basically so much good news. I mean, that's only some of it. There was so much else that happened last week that we just don't have time to go into. But all this good news, and yet sentiment is bearish, prices are down.
Expectations are ran so far, so quickly. People were expecting us to be over 120K by now. And, like a spoiled kid on Christmas, you didn't get everything you wanted. And the sentiment is just low.
Toys go out of the pram as a result. So look, I think you need to put the current prices to one side at the moment. The outlook is still incredibly bullish. And I think as far as this DeepSeek AI sort of thing goes, like, yes, this is potentially a very disruptive force. I think the main reason why it's affecting the markets is more kind of it's sowing uncertainty, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like people are now saying, okay, does this mean Nvidia isn't as valuable as we thought? Does this mean the current model of AI development in the US and elsewhere, does that mean it has to be rethought? All these questions popping up. That is uncertainty. And markets hate uncertainty.
They hate uncertainty, but it's also just a repricing. That's what happens.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean because Nvidia is worth less, Bitcoin must be worth less. It's just the natural correlation of it. It's correlated. Asset managers are positioned in their books ahead of the open. If you sell in Bitcoin because of some AI chip in China, then I'm sorry, NGMI guys.
Yeah. Quite often, and this is true of what's a good example is when the US government sells Bitcoin, which, you know, is another thing that may be coming to an end now that Trump's in office. But actually it was, you know, when you'd get those stories of, oh, the US Marshals had just moved X amount of Bitcoin to Coinbase. The story itself and the FUD it generates, that's what hits prices. It's not actually the event itself. And I kind of feel this DeepSeek AI thing is a kind of similar thing. As you say, Nick, it's a repricing. It's shaken things up a bit. Some people are panicking. And actually, if you were bullish on Bitcoin before all this came out, if you believed it, you know, if you were bullish on crypto, then this doesn't really change it.
Yeah, exactly.
As far as I can see.
Yeah.
So just chill.
Chill, guys.
Okay, just chill. All right, it is time for the walls of shame and fame.
The weekly rise and falls. Here's the wall.
What is that?
Guys,
my word.
Have they gone full Brokeback Mountain?
Production team here just really just keep us on our toes. Okay, so I can't unsee that. Oh my God, I can't unsee that either. What?
Guys, this is
that hairstyle actually quite suits me. I've never thought of having that's kind of the Roger Ver cut, isn't it?
Go for it, bro.
Yeah, I think that looks good.
What is this guy thinking? He's like, I wonder who's on the wall of shame this week. Am I on the wall of shame?
Is it me? Okay, so guys, as you know, we normally do a wall of shame or a wall of fame. And in previous ones, we've done it according to the countries which either produced the most viewers for the previous week's stream or the fewest viewers for the previous week's stream by head of population. However, we've decided to mix it up a little bit again. We're now doing a wall of shame and fame. And this week, we thought we'd just highlight someone who has, let's say, not quite covered themselves in glory in the crypto space, and someone who has. So let's have a look at the first. The first one is the wall of shame. Now, this is Ryan Fournier. He is the chairman of Students for Trump.
Students for Trump, yeah.
Big MAGA guy. I think it's fair to say that this guy is kind of the last person on earth you'd want to find yourself sat next to on a long-haul flight.
The amount this guy tweets, I think he must be using an AI agent of some description.
Yeah, I was looking at
an extreme MAGA AI agent. Yeah, it's crazy.
Anyhow, he got into Ryan got himself in a bit of hot water last week. Obviously, all everyone was talking about was the Trump and Melania meme coin. God, that already feels a long time ago, doesn't it? And he started tweeting, probably started tweaking as well, who knows, about another shitcoin.
Yeah.
And then, everyone sort of piled in, and it turned out he'd sold.
TikTok shitcoin that he basically promoted around potentially as an option because TikTok was being banned at about that time, right? There was talk about that, and then he promoted it and he got sent supply or something. And then he dumped the supply. And what was funniest was the response what he gave when people were, complaining about what he did. Right? Let me just pull that up where if we can find the tweet itself. He says, "I'm not sure how many times." One sec, let me put it up myself. I'm not sure how many times I have to say this. I wasn't committed to holding for weeks to begin with. I never told the guy who created it that's what I wanted to do. It made sense to sell when the market was going down increasingly. I feel like this is common sense, but I don't know anymore. Yeah, bro, when you sell when the price is going down, you're supposed to hold if you're a massive supply holder. Otherwise, you're going to dump on your fans and use them for liquidity. I mean, that's the most obvious point.
I want to nominate it made sense to sell when the market was going down increasingly as one of the tweets of the year. We're only in January. And already that is one of the tweets.
That's so
of this
crypto.
Cycle.
He says he doesn't know crypto, but that's one of the most crypto sayings you can have. Together with wallet mistakes were made in a wallet I control.
I think that tweet. I think that line could be this.
Frame
cycle's,
it, bro.
Yeah,
frame it.
I think it could be this cycle's.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is the wall of shame. That is the villain. The hero of this week, the wall of famer, is none other than this guy, Vitalik.
The dog himself.
Yeah,
he's back.
He came out swinging last week.
Damn straight, man. Changed his profile pic to a milady and not taking prisoners, going all at it, defending Ethereum. It's cool.
He kind of flipped into wartime leader, Vitalik.
Yeah, he locked in 100%.
Went all Churchillian on us.
Milady.
Yeah. So it was good to see Vitalik wading in and standing up for Ethereum, which kind of brings us on nicely to Ethereum. Well, Ethereum civil war, I think.
Oh, civil war. Is Ethereum on life support? Well, the BTC ETH chart is on life support. You can pull it up there. This is what's driving a lot of the sentiment. Just look at that. Ooh. 3 years of pain and torture. How does it feel, Guy?
That is not nice. Yeah. As an ETH holder, that
doesn't feel
nice.
good. You know, apparently Trump is also going to pardon someone else, the ETH BTC chart. It needs a pardon. It's been suffering for over 3 years. It's almost as bad as Supermax prison. Just watching.
Please, Mr. President, make it happen.
But yeah, what is going on? Why? And it's not just of price, of course. There's also, for instance, DEX trading volume. You can take a look. We can take a look at, on-chain activity, fees, revenue. There's also this really interesting post from a crypto quant contributor. I'll show you the charts. I won't go into them in too much detail, but basically it shows there's been a massive net flow to Binance. It's been strong. So basically, if people are sending ETH to an exchange, they're likely to want to sell it. 6 days of inflows have exceeded 100K in ETH. Oof. We've also had reserves on Binance that have spiked. Obviously, again, potentially people wanting to sell. And there's also the taker buy and sell ratio. So basically, this is just the taker orders. There's been more sells than buys, and this is negative, which means there's been more sells than buys. Okay. So sell orders have dominated, and open interest is falling. So in the market, the market isn't looking very bullish.
Yeah, I'm actually, and just to add to that, just kind of anecdotally, I know a few people who've been sort of in Ethereum and ETH for a long time. And a couple of them have said to me, sort of, that's it, I'm out. Moved in. One of them's moved into Sol. Wow. Sentiment and morale in the Ethereum community are very low in parts. Now, why is this happening? Well, the first thing is obviously market underperformance in general. Narrative follows price. ETH has obviously, if you're going back to that ETH BTC chart, it's been underperforming. There are many reasons for this. I think probably the fragmentation across the ecosystem, all these layer twos, the sheer number of layer twos cropping up has become a meme in itself. Obviously, that has meant reduced fees, which has been good for users, but not good for ETH. So less ETH has been burned as a result.
Yeah, exactly. The whole modularization strategy.
Yeah,
is not the whole monolithic versus modularization debate. It seems like it's losing to monolithic chains like Solana, etc.
Yeah. Going back to Vitalik as well, he has been periodically selling ETH, and there have been kind of questions around that. Now, I think to be fair to Vitalik, most of his ETH selling is done in order to donate to charities and things like that. So I don't think you can necessarily, you can't really criticize him too much for that. I think, though, from an optics point of view, it can look bad for ETH, but I mean, there's absolutely nothing.
There's also foundation selling there.
I was going to get to that. Yeah, the Ethereum Foundation, I think, is the kind of more controversial figure here. I mean, Vitalik is still, hugely respected in crypto, and not just by people in the Ethereum ecosystem as well, as we'll see. But yeah, the Ethereum Foundation, obviously the non-profit that kind of is supposed to oversee Ethereum's development. Now, this model that Ethereum pioneered. This has been copied by I don't know, most crypto projects, but certainly a very large amount. This idea of a non-profit set up in a sort of neutral jurisdiction like Switzerland or Cayman Islands, places like that. So a lot of other crypto projects have gone down this route, but the Ethereum Foundation has come in for a lot of criticism. A lot of that has been around selling ETH. Yeah. ETH sales by the foundation have become quite controversial. There's also been controversy around personnel. So Aya Miyaguchi is the foundation's executive director. A lot of people have said that she should be replaced.
Yeah, exactly. And I think more generally, I think the ETH Foundation has been way less involved in projects working and building on ETH, right? So, I mean, ZeroX Guy, I think he's the developer behind Abstract, which is a new layer 2 being launched.
Is that the Pudgy Penguins?
That's the one, yeah. But it's lots of hype around this one, and it's going to be a really big one. And apparently he was saying that no one from the foundation has even reached out to him. And if you compare this to other, projects, like think about the Solana Foundation, how involved they are in actually pushing Solana adoption forward.
Yeah.
Like all these hackathons and all them reaching out, and you can build, and grants. So it's the lack of active engagement from the foundation that has left people wondering, who's coordinating a lot of this, which is why Vitalik has actually come back and is trying to take more of a hands-on approach now.
Yeah. Well, we'll look at that in a sec. I mean, obviously, as well as this, we've had sort of prominent figures within the Ethereum ecosystem kind of pushing back. A big one was Eric Connor, so formerly known as Eric.eth.
I did not think I'd see this happen.
Yeah.
He was one of the most biggest, proponents of Ethereum, attack all the time.
Yeah.
And now he's basically, replaced his punk profile picture with the Fraser one, and he's even mentioned in his Twitter profile, former ETH maxi.
Wow.
So it's not looking good.
So
man.
I mean, you kind of think, well, if Eric.eth is bearish,
it's not looking good, bruv.
It's not looking good. However, Vitalik, as we mentioned earlier, has very much come out swinging, and come out to defend Ethereum. And it looks like there is going to be a bit of a shakeup. It looks like they're hearing these concerns.
Yeah, he is. And it's also like there are some tech changes he potentially wants to implement. He's written a blog post last week, potentially scale Ethereum's transaction capacity to 17 times through, L2 solutions. We can, whether that's the best approach, who knows? But he doesn't want to go through scaling the L1 because it compromises decentralization and, quote, social benefits. But okay. But he also wants to support hundreds of millions of users with crypto assets and decentralized applications, which I don't know if that's necessarily the approach or Ethereum's competitive advantage right now. I think as a consumer chain, I think it's already lost the race to the likes of Solana and the others.
Yeah.
It's just not as the user-friendly, the UX, the UI is just nowhere near as quick and easy as Solana. And just look at the adoption rates that we've seen, at least in the past few months.
Yeah.
That being said, Ethereum does have a competitive advantage when it comes to TradFi institutions and RWA assets and issuing on blockchains, especially as the second most secure network in the world. Institutions feel a lot more comfortable to issue on Ethereum than they would many others. So that's the competitive advantage it should focus on, I think. Yeah.
No, I think that's right. I guess, does Ethereum do Vitalik and the rest of the rest of his people at Ethereum, people on his side, do they realize that? And is that going to be the strategy that they adopt? Because as you said, I mean, I agree with you. I think you're 100% right. Solana is now the consumer chain of choice. You could not have issued the Trump and Melania coins on Ethereum.
They would never have grown. The fees would have just been too high for anyone to onboard.
Yeah. And whether any of the layer twos are actually up to that job, obviously they would have been better from a fee perspective, but even, whether they would have been up to the job of, of issuing those tokens, Solana itself struggled.
But UX as well, because people would need to go and bridge to a layer 2, right?
Yeah.
It's not as easy as just go and download a Phantom wallet,
Yeah.
But I think Ethereum is realizing this because quite coincidentally, last week, a company called Etherealize, launched. And they've been working on this for quite some time. And it was actually interesting. I was listening to an interview with the founder on Unchained. And the goal of this company is to kind of be the BD for Ethereum on Wall Street. And basically you sing the praises of Ethereum and why companies should issue tokenized assets on Ethereum on Wall Street. And they're marketing Ethereum as the ideal asset for RWAs. And this is something we've been saying for months. I think Ethereum as the second biggest and most secure network should be utilized for these RWA assets, billions and billions and trillions of dollars of RWAs. Even Larry Fink was singing the praises of RWAs last week.
Yeah. Well, that was a bit of good news that we didn't even get round to discussing earlier. The fact that obviously last week was the Davos conference where all the lizard people get together in Switzerland. Sorry. All the world's most important people get together in Switzerland and talk about the future of humanity. And of course, Larry Fink was there, and he was being interested. A lot of people were actually interviewed by CNBC Squawk Box, Ray Dalio as well. A lot of people talking about Bitcoin, including Larry Fink, who said he was talking about it going to 700K or something.
Yeah. It's not Davos though if you're not interviewed by Andrew Ross Sorkin in the snow in that backdrop.
Yeah. That you know
That's
you've
the
made
classic.
it. You know you've made it when Andrew
on the
Ross,
whip.
when you have to put a coat on and go and, go and
Exactly.
be interviewed in the snow. But yes, Larry Fink was, as Nick said, was talking about tokenization. This would probably happen on Ethereum, certainly as things are. And I mean, Larry Fink is a man who gets what he wants.
That's right. Yeah.
So if that is what he envisions, then I wouldn't bet against that that being the ultimate what eventually happens. Interesting that you mentioned Unchained podcast. That episode with the dude from Etherealized is is that right?
Etherealize, yeah.
It is definitely worth listening to. Laura Shin, actually, as well, the host of Unchained, she had a good take on Vitalik as well. Obviously, she wrote the book on Ethereum.
Yeah.
So or one of the books on Ethereum. And she had an interesting take where she, just mentioned, talked about how, Vitalik was so young when he created Ethereum. And he's still a fairly young guy now. And his kind of thing is not, he's not kind of the CEO, natural sort of wartime leader that you would expect.
Yeah,
he's a thinker.
He's
a visionary.
Yeah.
He wants to write long blog posts. He wants to think about how.
He's a dancer as well. You see the unicorn dance?
Oh yeah. Well, and the old badger dance as well from back in the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's. It's an interesting position that he's in because he doesn't really want to be this person, and I think maybe that's why there was a lot of speculation that maybe Danny Ryan should take over at the Ethereum Foundation. Maybe it just seems that the Ethereum Foundation need to be more sort of front foot in getting and aggressive in getting out there and promoting Ethereum and all it can do. And look, if they want to go after the institutional narrative, the pie is big enough. They don't need to be necessarily the consumer chain. Solana and the Solana competitors can split that pie.
Institutions aren't price sensitive. They don't care paying a lot for gas. They care about security, right?
Yeah.
Security, and that's what Ethereum can offer. So leverage that competitive advantage. That's it.
Yeah. Okay, so a lot to do for Ethereum, but it really does seem like, I think last week was kind of pivotal when there was so much so much war on the timeline. It does feel like things are changing, within the Ethereum, the organization.
There we go.
And I should say as well, like, this debate just would not be happening if ETH's price had been performing stronger.
Price leads narrative, man, as always.
Yeah.
And sentiment. So yeah.
So let's see. Ethereum has got a lot of work to do, but I, for one, reckon they can do it.
There we go.
But in the meantime, ETH BTC, probably ain't going to look that good. Okay, let's give, before we look at last week's top gainers, let's give a quick shout out to our brand partners, Binance and Ledger.
Yeah, exactly. Ledger's actually got a really good promotion going on right now, guys. If you go with the link down below, which we will share, we'll also share it on the screen if we can, you'll get $10 of free Bitcoin loaded onto any hardware wallet you buy from a Ledger with the link down below. So there you go. You can already buy your Ledger pre-packed with the gold standard of crypto.
Nice.
And yeah, of course, if you guys want to buy your crypto in addition to the Bitcoin, and you want to move that Bitcoin to buy some altcoins, we've also got Binance as a brand partner. So in case you don't have a Binance account already, go down to the link below and you'll get exclusive 20% trading fee discount for life and a $600 bonus. Top tier altcoin exchange, biggest exchange in the world. You're going to get your altcoin there.
Yes, bonus is subject to what do you call it?
Yeah, certain volume requirements.
Yeah. Okay, so buy it on Binance, store it on a Ledger. Let's have a look at last week's top gainers now. Interesting choice of one. A couple that I hadn't really heard of.
Yeah, one or two of these I'm like,
I'm not all that familiar with. So first up, we have Onyx Coin.
Onyx Coin, yeah. So
now this has been around since 2022.
Yeah. I mean, the rally in terms of this market condition seems to be around an incoming update,
Yeah.
So the chart is actually quite something if we can throw that up,
Yeah, actually, if you look at it on a longer time frame, it's a sort of classic, right? Went absolutely crazy and then crashed. But it's having something of it. Is that your alarm?
My alarm basically said.
No, I'm sorry, everyone. Nick has somewhere better to be, so that's it for this.
Sorry, guys. I'm low.
If we can carry on, if that's okay. Nick's
man.
taxis here. Okay, so that's Onyx Coin, XCN. Next up, we have Mantra. That's featured a few times on Top Gainers. I think you can probably thank Larry Fink for this one.
Yeah, probably, man. I think a lot of RWA excitement last week in general, man. Just around Larry Fink, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so Mantra reckon everything's going to be they're going to be tokenizing everything.
They've also been tokenizing real estate here in Dubai. Did you see that? The news 2 weeks ago about the Mac is one of the developers here has tokenized something like 1.5 billion dollars worth of real estate on Mantra. So interesting.
Yeah. If you don't know Dubai, when you drive around, you see all these skyscrapers, and most of them either have EMAR or DMAC written on them. These companies are massive. So so that's good for Mantra. Okay, next up we have Mantle. Again, MNT seems to be pumping around expansion plans. I think they have some updates coming soon, including around banking and AI agents.
Yeah, I think Mantle's a really slept on layer 2, right? Because they have rebranded a BitDAO, right? And they have a massive treasury. And I think they were bred out of Bybit, right?
Yeah.
So, I think in terms of layer 2 treasuries and layer 2's potential, not what I'm saying, I think potentially Mantle could be interesting.
Okay. All right. Next up is Lido DAO. LDO has had a good week. Again, thanks to Trump this time. It's this tweet from Arkham. Not only is World Liberty Financial buying a lot of ETH, it's also staking it. And it appears it's using Lido to do that.
There we go. DeFi degens.
Okay, and last up we have DEXI. This one was new to me. So this is a project that allows Web3 projects to launch customized DAOs,
like a DAO.fun or something.
Yeah. I think that's I've seen
DAO launchpad.
Yeah. Now I couldn't find too many reasons why the DEXI token is doing well, but they do seem to have very high yields on the protocol. Quite a lot of it is being staked, so that could explain it. But that's that along with Onyx Coin seems to have sort of come out of nowhere, broken into the top 100.
Yeah.
So that was that was Top Gainers, I should say. Let's have a look now at some tweets of the week. Again, it was a crazy week for tweets.
Smooth. There we go.
Beautiful. Okay, let's start off then. First tweet of the week comes from Jeff Park.
Yeah. Smart guy. Never forget, it's not Bitcoin that needs Trump. It's Trump that needs Bitcoin. Never mistake who holds the real power. It's interesting. Yeah. I did like Laura Shin responded to him. She said, I love your philosophy, Jeff, but I have to disagree. Bitcoin doesn't need Trump, but he also doesn't need Bitcoin. It's interesting.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. But I guess all this talk around a strategic Bitcoin reserve, all this talk around ETFs or whatever, what's really important is Bitcoin. Bitcoin, the protocol, Bitcoin, the software, the fact that you can hold it in your own wallet, you can self-custody it, no one can take it away from you. That's what
it will be there forever. That presidents come and go. That's it.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Okay, next up we have a good take on everything DeepSeek at the moment from Farrokh. All jokes aside, what's happening with DeepSeek at the moment is a change of perceived value in AI. China, who manufactures everything you use, allegedly built what ChatGPT did with a fraction of the money. Naturally, American tech stocks like Nvidia fall on news like that, and therefore so does crypto. Just another dip. Hang tight. Play the long game.
Keep calm and hodl on, guys. Yeah, like I said, why you're selling your coins just because of an AI development.
Yeah,
it's like
just ride it out. It out. It's all good. Okay, next one comes from Solana founder Anatoly. This warmed my heart.
Top class. I love it. Ecosystem shouldn't be fighting. Exactly.
This is something that gets lost so much. It's not crypto versus crypto. It's crypto versus everything else.
Yeah.
So when you see people tearing chunks out of each other on the timeline, I do kind of think, is this helping? And most of the time it isn't. So it's really good to see Anatoly. Vitalik Buterin is awesome. Let him cook. Every healthy ecosystem needs to iterate. Change is good.
That's straight, man.
The pie is big enough.
Couldn't have said it better.
Yeah. Okay. A great take from Gwart Negus. It's imperative we have a stockpile of crypto tokens in the off chance that we find a use case.
Off chance we find a use case for all those governance tokens, guys. And the off chance we get the XRP use case we need.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Yeah,
Yeah.
just stockpile them. We'll find a use for them later. Okay. The important thing is
Let's
that
just
you
hoard
have
all the
them
coins,
hoarded.
let's just grab it all,
Yeah.
accumulate, discover, find the use cases later. It doesn't matter.
Okay, and well, we were talking about crypto entities cooperating and supporting each other. No one told the Kraken intern.
Shots fired, hey man. It's like, a guy don't play games.
Yeah, I like it. Brian being very sort of, Brian being very supportive of Kraken as well, but no one told the intern.
What a ratio.
That's great.
685 likes for Brian's, conciliatory tweet, and then 15K likes.
Yeah,
He's decided to choose violence.
yeah. Obviously,
Kraken
a
intern.
bit of a tough week for Coinbase, given that transactions were taking. I mean, I saw one that was saying it was going to take 4 years or something.
4 years.
A screenshot saying estimated time 4 years. I was
That's
like,
forced
wow.
hodling, bro. That's forced hodling.
Yeah, I mean,
my Solana's worth what now? Finally, it's on Coinbase. I can sell it. Forced hodling.
Yeah. Okay, that was tweets of the week. Let's have a look at some coins to watch this week. Now we have to talk about Rune. This was one of the bad news stories of last week, and I say this as a Rune holder. So here's a few minutes of cope for you. So yeah, Thorchain was revealed to be insolvent last week, and I should say that article that we've got up on screen there from Blockworks is a really good explainer of what happened and what went wrong. TLDR, ThorSwap itself, the DEX, is fine.
Yeah.
It's still working as normal. It is still generating fees. That doesn't appear to be a problem. But Thorchain itself has become insolvent. Its liabilities.
The lending component of it, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The liabilities exceed the assets, and it's basically the fact. I think it's because of the fact that over the time it's literally been long Rune, right? In terms of, like you mint and redeem Rune to basically in and out of the protocol, right? When it comes to lending the assets and the collateral is swapped, and if Rune is decreasing against the assets being loaned out, Bitcoin, Ethereum over time, it's going to naturally become slowly insolvent. So now they're in a bit of a bit of a pickle.
Yeah. So reading about this last week, it seems that they've kind of got two options. Either they kind of let it ride and see what happens and hope it resolves itself, which doesn't sound ideal, or they try to salvage what they can of the protocol and kind of, I guess, sort of tear it down and start again.
Yeah, I think it's like just let the bad debt go bad, like just insult, and then just basically salvage the protocol itself, and then maybe give Rune a chance in the market, the cryptocurrency itself, and the swap feature itself, an opportunity to grow. Yeah,
I mean, both sound pretty painful. It seems like option 2 is probably the better option.
Yeah.
So yeah, it looks like tough times for Rune. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of people saying that it may have bottomed already. Like I say, I say this as a Rune holder. I'm personally not planning to buy any more at the moment. I'm going to kind of sit and watch how this whole thing plays out. But it will be interesting to see what they manage to do with this. And obviously, let's hope that they can salvage something from it. Because, well, for one thing, it would be a shame to see what is otherwise a very good project go down. But I guess there would be.
Right? It's an OG in the DeFi space. Been around for quite some time. Yeah.
So that is Rune and Thorchain. Let's see.
Then we also got Jupiter. So they're going through an airdrop right now, Jupiter, and they've also got Castanbul, which is basically this conference they've got going on, I think, in Istanbul, the cat theme, and they've also just burned 3 billion Jupe tokens.
Okay,
and also lots of exciting announcements for Jupiter last week. They bought they bought a majority stake in Moonshot, which you see how Moonshot performed last week.
I know it was number one finance app, wasn't it?
Insane. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and so what a good acquisition there in terms of the majority stake in Moonshot. They also bought something called Sonar Watch. So Jupiter's doing big things. Big things.
Yeah. There's a lot of cats involved with Jupiter, isn't there?
Yeah, I think the founder's a pseudonymous guy called Meow or something.
You're never far from a cat in crypto, are you?
It needs to mellow out all the dog coins,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Needs balance in the crypto market.
Okay, let's have a quick look now at some dates for the diary. Now, as Nick mentioned, it seems like every week's a big week in macro land, but this is a big one. 29th of January, 2 days time, it is the FOMC meeting.
Damn straight. Now there's obviously no chance of a cut if you look at the Fed funds rate probabilities. But what's important is, of course, what will be said. It's the first Fed meeting this year. It will lay the foundation for what we could see in the coming year in terms of rate cuts potentially. So there'll be a lot of eyes and ears on that conference.
Yeah. This is a big one. I think, this could really set the tone for 2025 as well. So, as Nick says, probably almost certainly no cut, but it will be really interesting to see what Jerome says.
The Fed whisperers will be listening.
Yeah. So keep an eye on that. And I kind of feel as well, that's something weighing on the market a bit too. I feel people are kind of, waiting to see which way the Fed goes. So, let's see. And okay, on Friday, on the 31st, some more data. Core PCE. The PCE is obviously the Fed's preferred inflation measure. It's the previous lot was 2.4%.
Exactly, and the forecast is 2.6. So obviously, watch where the number comes in versus that. So that will be important. If it's slightly cooler, that's great. It seems like we had the CPI 2 weeks ago, as well as the PPI was slightly cooler. So if it keeps with that, then potentially looking good on that front. More rate cuts incoming, we hope.
Okay. Yes. We're not going to get a rate cut this week, but let's hope we finally start seeing that, because I think that will definitely breathe a bit of life into things. Nick, a lot of people talking on this in the comments about how you're looking quite smart.
Oh, thank you, guys. Appreciate it. For you guys.
These
just
things
for you.
are all relative, obviously. But I can.
Literally,
I can confirm that he has trousers on.
I have trousers. I do, guys. Look,
nice
beige.
Socks. I see you're sort of still rocking flip flops.
Well, yeah. I'm
very casual. Very casual.
Got to be comfortable at least in these streams.
Yeah. And was there anything else? So it was Guy, did you buy a new laptop? Oh yes, I haven't got the one with the stickers on anymore. Yeah, I've got that.
Don't put stickers on that one. No, it's gonna look.
No. And yes, it was us from Lost. Was that Guy and Nic, or Sawyer and Dr. Shepard from the TV series Lost? Yes, well spotted.
Yeah, everyone says I look like Sawyer. I had to Google that. I didn't. It's like there's many.
Well, there you are. Some good comments here. Data Park 91. That's why I tell people it doesn't matter who the next president. Bitcoin is going to go down and up regardless.
There we go, man.
Absolutely. And an interesting one here. Because we were talking a lot about Michael Saylor at the beginning of the stream. It's always bad when there's a face connected to a coin. Unfortunately, it seems Saylor is becoming that for Bitcoin.
Yeah, it is. The fact that we have to track his buys and everything, and have to look to him buying to be a savior in some way.
Yeah.
But he did say that when he dies, he's going to burn all his coins, right, or something. Or
yes, he did. Yeah. So, that's kind of still having influence, really, because he's just. He owns so many.
Yeah, that's true. If he's a man of his word,
yeah,
it's positive for the long term sustainability of Bitcoin.
Yeah. Okay. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. How did we do on likes, by the way? 1,200. Oh, not enough. Not enough. It had to be 1,500 likes. Well, I guess people want portfolio reveals and stuff. Maybe we'll do that next week. Yeah. But anyway, thank you everyone for watching. We will be back again next week. And let's face it, Bitcoin could be ripping by then.
Yeah, indeed, man.
These things happen. These things change quickly.
Yeah, we do.
All right. Good to see you. Thanks for watching. See you again next week.
See you guys. Cheers.
Is the little black fella still on this channel? Guy is a ginger, so pleased I managed to pop him earlier last night. I like garlic bread with my spaghetti. Authentic adverts, I fought it. I never go outside, lucky and full of authentic adverts. I fought it. I never go outside, lucky and full of. I like garlic bread with my spaghetti.
That was a good one, I thought.
Yeah, man, it was good. Top stuff.
Yeah.
1,200 likes, unfortunately, not to 1,500, but we'll get it next time. I wonder what the views were like.
Yeah, I think we may still be live.
Are we live?
Nice. Kill it.
Yeah.